And good morning and welcome back to Odd Socks. I thought today I would focus a little bit more on our melons that we've got growing here on our newer polytunnel. Now, as you can see, they really have spread, and we're using the twine method where we're wrapping the stems of the melons up and eventually it will grow over. Now, I've still got to put some more of these strings in to carry some of the bigger branches in, especially down towards this end. But I actually can't reach, so I have to wait for Jamie to come in and actually tie those strings for me, because I can't fit a ladder in here or a step ladder because there's just no room because of how big my chili plants are now getting. Yep, so this is the 1st of August now, and whereas, yes, these could do with being a little bit bigger, I was a little bit late planting out simply because of how bad our weather has been here in the UK at the start of the season. Melons are definitely warmth loving plants, so I had to wait a little while to plant these in here because it's not a heated polytunnel, and a lot of the time the nights were still between 6 and 8 degrees at the time when I would normally be actually planting these out. Now, I have several different varieties here. I've got a cantaloupe, I've got a sugar baby watermelon, I've got some Malaga, and there is one more as well which I'll pop up there for you. Now, I wanted to try different varieties this year because this year for us it's a bit of an experiment, because we want to see what our best tasting melons are. Now, going forward, I'll probably just grow the 2 different varieties, but I want to test out some of these. All these melons here are all bred to be grown in a cooler climate to what the maybe melons are used to. So in theory, so long as the weather holds out, we should get ripe melons. Now, if you've watched previous videos of my melon journey from last year, we did them in a very small greenhouse and we only had a few plants, and by the end of the season we did get red spider mite. But I'm hoping to keep the humidity in here much higher than I was able to in the greenhouse. The beds in that greenhouse are very loose soil, which is great, but to keep it really well moist and to up the humidity in there, I was having to water the paths on a semi-regular basis, and it just wasn't quite enough. Plus, the free flowing of those beds was really hard to keep that moisture content in the beds as the melons were growing. But we did get a crop, and to be honest, for a first time growing melons, it wasn't a half bad crop either. So as you can see, these grow incredibly well. If you've looked at previous videos, you would have seen these growing this year as we go along. Now, I do need to get this tied in to go up and over the actual roof. Now, it's good on this side because this is south facing directly this way, so this is not going to crowd out any light for anything else in this polytunnel, which is good. So when you're growing melons or growing anything that is going to get big, make sure that your placement is in the right place where it's not going to overshadow anything that may just need that extra bit of sunlight. Now, as we're going along, I haven't really been taking off any of the side shoots. You can do. I'm actually just leaving them on this year. I'm not actually going to take much off. Anything that's in the way, we have been removing, but that is it. We're just letting things be. And as you can see, we have got some fantastic air gaps in between here, even though we have an awful lot of plants here in our bed. Also, one thing you'll probably notice is that we're not supporting any of these fruits. These fruits, this vine is designed to hold these fruits. You don't need to net them, you don't need to support them, especially with melons of the sizes that these are going to be. Trying to grow gigantic melons in this country is going to be extremely hard because of the amount of time it needs to mature. So here in the UK, it is normally smaller melons, around about so big, give or take, obviously depending on your growing conditions or the variety that you're actually trying to grow. So we are not going to support this in any way, shape or form. And in fact, you can see they're quite happily dangling there in the background as well as they're growing across the roof space. Now, these get watering. Now that they're fruiting, these get a really good water several times a week. They've also been fertilised in the bottom with some bloodfish and bone at the beginning of the year, and we use plenty of comfrey tea every week just so they get a very, very good feed. Now, as you can see, we have still got lots and lots and lots of flowers. I'm not going to touch any of these flowers at the moment. I'm going to see how they go, just in case we lose a few melons that I'm hoping to grow to full size. Now, it is getting later in the season, and really melons need to be ripened really before the end of August, sometimes into September, all depending on our British weather. But hopefully, fingers crossed, I should get some harvest off of these. And that is something I'm definitely looking forward to. Now you can see here, one of the varieties that we've got going on is the Sugar Baby Watermelon. Now, I've had a few issues with this year, and I think last year I had similar issues, as in with the pollination and the setting of the fruit. I've had a lot of flowers that have just dried off and not been pollinated, or for whatever reason it's been aborted. But I have the last couple of days some half decent melons on here, which I'm actually really quite looking forward to. Last year I found this watermelon, even though small, to be very, very sweet, and it was so crispy, and it was absolutely delicious and exceptionally juicy. I'm hoping a few more of these will actually take, but I am trying to take off any that have failed to pollinate, just to keep it clean and less diseases to build up. But as you can see with this is in definite need of going up and over as well, and I think I'm going to have another string. So you can grow melons across your floor. You don't have to tie them up in this way, and in fact they can be a fantastic ground cover to reduce some of that weeds if you are growing in a polytunnel. But I like the fact that I can grow upwards. It's so much easier to maintain. I can remove any diseased or damaged leaves, and I've got the floor clean where I can maintain any weeds or any issues. It's also a lot easier for me to get that water or the feed of the comfrey tea down to the root, and that is where it matters. You don't really want to get too much water on your leaves because that can cause problems in itself. But all these varieties now are all starting to fruit, and it's so exciting. And it's quite crazy how quickly these melons are growing. They will, I've noticed, if I don't come down for a couple of days, some of these varieties are growing over a foot or more in that couple of days. And in fact, if you're a very busy person and only can get down once a week to your plot or your growing space, it may be an issue trying to keep it tamed. But at the same time, it's very easy to do. And in fact, I love growing melons because they are not too much hassle. Once you get the seeds sown, get them germinated and get them into the ground, so long as you're careful with your watering and your place where you're growing them, they are exceptionally easy. And the bonus is that you can get some fantastic small melons. And we all know how expensive those melons are here in the UK in the local supermarkets. This is not going to have any travel miles on it. It's going to be fresh, picked off the vine, and it's going to taste even better with that IKEA effect. The fact that you've grown it yourself, so it's going to taste so much better. So guys, how is your plots and growing spaces doing? Have you sown any melons this year? Are you being successful with it? I know there's quite a few people that are growing in the UK that have already started to thinking about picking their melons. Mine are nowhere near ready, and it will need some more summer sun, hopefully through August, to ripen these up. But there is telltale signs when to harvest your melons, which I've got in a previous video. This will help you pick it out when it's at its best and most ripe, and hopefully full of flavour. So let me know in the comments, guys, what variety of melons are you growing, and what have you been most successful with over the years, if it's something that you've grown on a regular basis. Again, let me know in the comments, guys. I do really enjoy engaging with my community. Things this year have not been the easiest for certain crops, but so long as I get some ripe melons at the end of this, I will be very, very grateful. Signs are looking good, not as far as long as I would hope, but sometimes you've just got to take whatever nature throws at you. So this polytunnel already at 8:30 in the morning is already starting to get very, very warm. So I think I'm going to go out in the fresher air and go and do some jobs. Thanks for joining, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.